August 2017. Barcelona suddenly had 222 million euros, overnight, football's biggest windfall. But inside the club, that cash collided with secret debts and a culture addicted to winning at any cost. Within 4 years, debts soared past 2 billion euros and Messi was gone. How did such fortune turn toxic so fast? The answer begins with a single payment that changed everything. August 3rd, 2017. Paris Saint-Germain deposits 222 million euros into Barcelona's bank account, every cent in a single staggering wire transfer. The world's most expensive footballer is gone overnight. Headlines explode across Europe. Neymar, the face of Barcelona's future, is out the door, and the club is suddenly holding a sum that dwarfs anything the sport has ever seen. In transfer history, nothing comes close. For Barcelona's executives, the shock is immediate. This wasn't a deal negotiated over months. Paris Saint-Germain simply triggered the buyout clause, forcing the club to accept a fortune they never wanted to lose. The Spanish press calls it an earthquake. Radio hosts debate if Barcelona will ever recover. Rival fans taunt the club for letting a superstar slip away. On social media, supporters demand answers. Who replaces Neymar? Where does the money go? For years, Barcelona's identity rested on the MSN trio, Messi, Suarez, Neymar, a symbol of attacking power. Now, with one piece ripped away, the pressure to act is overwhelming. Sponsors, fans, and even players expect immediate action. Every agent in Europe senses opportunity. Every selling club sees a target flush with cash. The market tilts in an instant. Prices inflate. Barcelona's rivals know they have leverage, and the club's next move will be watched by the entire football world. The 222 million euros windfall is both a lifeline and a trap. It brings the promise of rebuilding and the risk of reckless spending. In the days after the transfer, Barcelona faces a choice that will shape its future. The clock is already ticking. When Joan Laporta took charge in 2003, he brought a new vision to Barcelona, a vision built on winning at all costs. The club's members, known as socios, elect the president every 4 years. Each campaign turns into a race to promise more trophies, more signings, bigger names. For the board, success on the pitch becomes the only currency that matters. If you win, you stay. If you don't, you're out. That pressure seeps into every decision. Laporta's administration set the tone: pay whatever it takes to attract the world's best, even if it means stretching the budget beyond safe limits. The first warning signs appeared quietly. As the team racked up victories and filled the Camp Nou, the wage bill began to climb. By 2010, Barcelona was spending 75% of its revenue on player salaries alone. Financial experts consider anything above 70% to be a danger zone. At Barcelona, the logic was simple. If you want to win, you pay for it. And for a while, the gamble paid off. Ronaldinho, then Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta delivered glory after glory. Each new contract had to outdo the last. Each transfer window became a contest to prove ambition. But the system had a flaw baked in. The club's structure, with presidents desperate to win re-election, encouraged short-term thinking. Every year, the pressure to deliver immediate results grew. Spending became normalized, even celebrated. The idea that Barcelona could outspend any problem took hold, overshadowing the quiet reality that costs were outpacing revenue. By the time the rest of Europe noticed, the seeds of crisis had already taken root. Cash poured into Barcelona's accounts, but it didn't sit long. Within weeks, the club launched a spree that stunned even seasoned agents. First came Ousmane Dembele, a raw, talented winger from Borussia Dortmund. The price was 135 million euros, plus hefty add-ons. Dembele arrived injured and would spend more matches in the treatment room than on the field. Next came Philippe Coutinho from Liverpool. Barcelona paid 160 million euros, making him the third most expensive player in history at the time. Coutinho never found his place, drifting from position to position, and he was eventually loaned to Bayern Munich, where he scored twice against Barcelona in an 8-2 humiliation. The pattern continued. Malcom, a promising Brazilian, was signed for 41 million euros from Bordeaux, barely played, and was sold at a loss within a year. In 2019, Barcelona reached for Antoine Griezmann, paying 120 million euros to Atletico Madrid and offering a wage package that would make him one of the world's highest-paid players. Griezmann, already 28, struggled to fit into the team's system. Each signing seemed less about football sense and more about making a statement. The sums were staggering, but the return was minimal. Injuries, poor adaptation, and tactical confusion meant that hundreds of millions yielded almost nothing on the pitch. Under President Bartomeu, the board doubled down on big names and big fees, convinced that another superstar would fix everything. Instead, the wage bill soared, and the team's core grew weaker with every new gamble. By 2020, Barcelona's payroll had swollen to 671 million euros. Player salaries alone now outstripped the club's entire income. Then the world shut down. COVID-19 emptied the Camp Nou, wiped out matchday revenue, and sent commercial deals into freefall. In a single year, Barcelona lost 300 million euros. The numbers no longer made sense. Wages consumed 103% of revenue, a ratio that would terrify any accountant. But the board pressed on, convinced that star power could still save them. At the heart of it all stood Lionel Messi. In 2017, Barcelona had handed him a contract worth 555 million euros, an amount so vast it stunned even industry insiders. The deal included loyalty bonuses, signing fees, and annual compensation that dwarfed the payrolls of entire leagues. When El Mundo leaked the details in early 2021, the public saw just how far the club had gone to keep its legend. But the math was merciless. La Liga's salary cap, tied to revenue, had been slashed in the pandemic. Barcelona now needed to cut their wage bill by at least 200 million euros just to register new signings, or even keep their existing stars. Negotiations with Messi's camp grew desperate. He agreed to a 50% pay cut, determined to stay. But on the morning of August 5, 2021, the club was told unequivocally that the numbers did not fit. La Liga would not allow the registration. That afternoon, Joan Laporta called an emergency board meeting. The news broke. Messi would leave Barcelona, not by choice, but because the club could not afford to keep him. At his farewell press conference, Messi's tears said what words could not. Decades of glory, undone by a spreadsheet. Fans gathered outside the stadium in disbelief, mourning not just a player, but the end of an era. Barcelona's financial obligations reached a staggering peak, with total liabilities officially reported at 1.35 billion euros in March 2021. Facing short-term debts of over 730 million euros, the club needed immediate cash just to keep the lights on. The solution was drastic: sell off future income. In June 2022, Barcelona agreed to hand over 25% of their La Liga television rights to Sixth Street, a United States investment firm, for 667 million euros. That money would have supported the club for the next 25 years. Another deal sold nearly half of their merchandising arm for 200 million euros. These transactions injected hundreds of millions into the club's accounts, providing short-term relief. But every euro received now meant less income for decades. The quick fix came at the cost of Barcelona's financial independence, trading tomorrow's security for survival today. The fallout stretched far beyond balance sheets. Gerard Piqué, one of Barcelona's most decorated defenders, agreed to halve his salary just to ensure the club could register new players. At the same time, the famous La Masia Academy, once the pride of Catalonia, faced deep budget cuts. Coaches left, youth programs shrank, and promising talents were rushed out or sold off before they could develop. The cost was not just felt in Barcelona. Across Spain and Europe, clubs watched as La Liga and UEFA tightened their rules, wary of another giant toppling under its own weight. The crisis forced a reckoning throughout football. How much can any team risk for glory? And what happens when the bill finally comes due? Barcelona's gamble still echoes across world football. As debt reshapes the club's future, every fan and rival now sees that even giants can fall, not from lack of glory, but from believing it would never end. The next chapter depends on learning that lesson. What's your take?